Hi, thanks so much for joining me today, Reanna. I am so looking forward to this conversation. And before we dig in, please go ahead and introduce yourself and what you do.
I am Reanna Ritter. I have a small bookkeeping firm called Ritter Accounting and Consulting, and I work with multiple different industries and small businesses.
Excellent. And I would love to hear, before you and I met and started working together, what were things like in your practice at that point?
I was taking on clients' problems as though they were my own. I was definitely undercharging. I had trouble figuring out how to charge. It was very stressful, and I worked a lot and barely made enough money.
That sounds like traditional accounting practice when people are first starting out, actually. So you had some of the common challenges that so many accounting professionals have, which is what I call the upper limit challenge, where you can't make any more because you have so many clients, you're so busy, you're sacrificing your time. What was it that caused you to look for help?
I felt like my income level was ridiculously low for an accountant, even just compared to, I think accountants do run into that problem where they run out of time and they have to pay a lot of salaries, and maybe that caps their income. But I think I was making way less than normal. It seemed like I shouldn't be having money problems, and I was.
Mm-hmm. And as you were starting to become aware of that and you were looking for options, what made you decide to want to work closely, for us to work closely together?
I had hired another coach, and we worked together for 6 months, and she did help me. But the specific message that you have about doubling your income and working half the time, that's what I needed to do.
And I love doing that. So we were aligned, actually.
Yeah.
Do you feel that there were any challenges or obstacles getting in the way regarding that decision for us to move forward and work together?
Yeah, I already felt that I was not making enough money to even support my lifestyle, because I did leave a 6-figure job,
Mm-hmm.
and without a plan and savings and all of that. So I was just having to hit the pavement hard and try to get clients. But so I was very nervous about paying the fee, making the financial commitment. I didn't know if it was going to be possible, but I felt like if I kept doing the same thing, nothing was going to change.
Mm-hmm. And I think that when we first met, you were really burned out because the fact that you were just working so many hours and your bank account didn't reflect all the value that you delivered.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And do you have any specific strategies that you put in place which did grow your bank account and ended up freeing up some of your time too?
Yeah, well, you helped me with the value conversation, putting together packages, pricing the packages, and all of those things. They were challenging to implement because I had a lot of mindset issues. So I had to do some reading and learning about, what my emotional kind of blocks were to get those implemented. But once I did that and implemented them and finally went for it and took your advice, putting the fear behind me of what people will think of me if I do or say this, then it worked beautifully. And I felt like I wasted a lot of energy being scared.
I want to say that some people just tolerate this forever. They never, ever take that plunge because of the mindset issues getting in the way of making a change, doing something that feels a little bit risky or different from what everybody else is doing. Were there any particular mindset issues that were coming up? Because I think it's something that is probably really common for most of us, but not always talked about.
I had a bad relationship with money. My parents had a bad relationship with money. They saw it as very difficult to get. It was a burden. It was a stress cause. So I, took all that on and believed that too. I had to do a lot of looking into why I've had those feelings and discovering that it was mostly due to parents' mindset just transferring to me. And then the other big one is boundaries, the lack thereof, taking on people's energy and their problems as if they were my own, having very low self-worth and being completely unaware of it. I was unaware that I had a bad relationship with money. I was unaware that I had low self-worth and boundaries. I didn't know any of it.
Mm-hmm. I know that we've talked about boundaries a lot in some of our conversations. What are some of the things that you have in place as far as boundaries because of the changes that you've made in your practice that didn't exist before?
I don't immediately rush to meet everybody's needs the second that they send me a message that they need something.
Even after hours, right?
Yeah, I was definitely checking my email and my phone all the time. And so I put up do not disturb on my phone for most of the day because I really hate cell phones. I find them very annoying. And getting those texts and the calls, they put me just right into stress mode. So I have do not disturb on. I had limited hours for calls. I put in scheduling link in my email so that and closed the hours very tightly to the hours that are going to be acceptable for me to get on the phone and talk to somebody. I don't like talking on the phone. So, those are some, and then not allowing people to negotiate the fees. I don't do that anymore. I used to, and that was a big mistake. I ended up resenting my clients when I would do that, and that's not good for any of us. So
that's interesting, and it's not the first time that I've heard that. Now, if you were able to negotiate and someone came on as a client, why did you end up resenting them?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Yeah, if you negotiated on fees and you were able to sign them on as a new client, why would you become resentful?
Oh, because I knew that I wasn't charging enough for the value, and again, the working tons of hours and not seeing it reflected in my bank balance. Like if I take 30 clients for $150 a month, I'm still struggling financially and I'm doing a lot of work. So it just doesn't.
Okay, so some of the things I've heard as far as boundaries go is you took charge of your calendar. You didn't let people just have an appointment with you at their convenience. You looked at what worked best for your workflow. You decided to really stand by your rates and own your value instead of wanting someone to like you or not disappoint someone. And also, part of what I heard is that you were able to package services together instead of just doing one-off things or allowing scope creep to happen.
Yeah, I definitely scope creep happened all the time. I would do things for free all the time, just and in a hurry.
Oh, and you got back your after hours time because you weren't busy checking emails or texting, thinking that was considered good customer service.
Right. Yeah, that's just being a doormat.
And so I totally hear what you're saying. And it's been really a joy to watch you put these things in place. And with that being said, so how do you now start to analyze and quote a project for value instead of time?
One of the tools is a diagnostic where, we go in and check out what's going on in the account and charge for that, so that we don't underquote what's going on. I have a conversation with the client about what their goals are, what kind of needs that they have, but also I kind of walk them through a couple personality types and ask them which one they feel that they fit into, and that usually works very well. then they
go ahead, Reanna.
It's better if I let them tell me, or let them convince themselves of what they need by having them, describe in detail the headaches that they're having and the things that they're, if I tell them, it just, I don't know, I think it's kind of offensive.
And I want to just make sure that this might be new to someone listening to some of these questions of what you do. Is that part of your initial consultation?
Yes. Yeah. So the first consultation, I have a questionnaire when somebody fills out for an appointment, of basic questions that they need to answer so that I can look at what their business is, and then see if they're, if they're not filling out the questionnaire, then they're probably just shopping or not serious. And then when we have the consultation, then I just ask them questions about, what they're experiencing as far as stress, and what would help them alleviate that stress.
Part of what I'm hearing is you have one more boundary, which you didn't mention, is you're now pre-qualifying clients before someone has access to your calendar. You don't have the calendar link readily available. They first have to answer some questions before you decide to share that with them.
Yes, true.
As a result, you end up talking with better clients than someone who's just looking for some time to pick your brain and get free information.
Yeah, I very rarely run into that now.
The other part that you were mentioning is what you were talking about earlier with the value conversation, because during the initial consultation, it sounds like you're asking different questions than what would be considered a traditional consultation.
Right. I think leading up before coaching, I was just asking things like, how many bank accounts do you have? How many transactions do you think you have? How clean are your books? Which they don't know. They don't know the answer to that. No. They're like, I think I'm doing pretty well. It's usually not the case. So now it's more about the emotional toll that their problems, their finance problems, their accounting problems are taking on their business life and personal life. And then they understand more why it's important that we work together and why it's worth paying for, instead of just, oh, you do these tasks and how many hours does it take you? I'm not their employee, so they don't need to worry about how many hours I'm working.
I think that what you're talking about is so important here, that whoever, who's listening to us, to really pay attention to that, is your clients don't really care about how many hours you're working in their books.
Yeah. And if I have that question in a consultation, I know it's not a good fit.
Mm-hmm. That is an eye opener right there. That is golden. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. And how long were you maybe thinking about raising your rates before you actually started to do something about it?
A year and a half. I haven't been in business that long. I'm going on 3 years, but a year and a half, I was stressing and like, what is wrong here?
Mm-hmm. And one of the things I know is changing your rates is probably one of the most difficult things for the majority of us to do as business owners, whether we're solo or even the big four. They all kind of question how to raise the rates and whether they should do it or not. And when doing so, part of what holds us back is we're afraid that we're going to lose clients, or they're going to maybe push back on that. What was your experience as you started to do that with your clients?
I had a couple clients. I had one client that just was like, okay, well, I want to discuss the different packages and see what the best fit is. Another one was like, I don't understand. Why am I getting my rates raised? And, I just explained, I originally told you your rate was going to be this, and I discounted it. And now we're just not doing that anymore. And it was a lot less. It wasn't really that big of a deal. I was terrified that people would say I'm greedy and and that I would lose clients, and I didn't feel I was in a position financially to lose clients. And I didn't end up losing clients, and some they were just emotionally draining, or, had strange personality traits, and would do things like try to make me feel like I owed them something, or I was less than them. And so I realized that in the state of mind I was in when I started, I attracted people like that. So I just let those people go.
Okay, then from what I'm hearing is that you shed some of the clients weren't a good fit for you. There was a correction, but even though you maybe ended up with less clients, did that lower your bank account?
No. No, it went way up.
Okay, that's important for people to be hearing, is that you now have less clients, but your bank account went way up.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have more clients because I'm doing better with the value conversation, but I have better clients.
Okay, so now you have high value clients instead of ones that are price sensitive.
Yeah.
And is there anything that you've done to fine tune your system that's really helped with your income growth?
I hired, just as I was afraid to work with you and make that financial commitment, doing some of that mindset money work, I hired an outside sales team, and they book people right into my calendar, and they pre-qualify clients, and it is way paid off. I don't have to go to networking meetings anymore and spend all this time in all these meetings with a hope strategy. Really, I have actual salespeople that know how to pre-qualify and match clients with my type of firm.
You've made some key investments, but it sounds like they've been investments where there's been a return on the money that you spent, as opposed to it being a cost.
Yeah, definitely not costs.
And the fact that you don't have to go to network meetings, whether virtually or in person, just frees up time, and it allows you to do business development, work on your clients, or maybe just spend time with your families. Because I know that you now take time off during the week for family time. Can you just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Fridays I will do maybe a half day business development, or maybe I won't work at all. And then I take my daughter to horseback riding and go to happy hour with my husband. And then Mondays, the whole family is home. So I just try to avoid coming into my office because it's not productive.
Then what I'm hearing is you're working about 3.5 days a week, but your revenues have increased.
Right.
That's a beautiful thing, Reanna.
Yeah.
And you look so much less stressed than when we first started working together.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot less. I know that you talked a little bit about the mindset. Were there any other hurdles that you faced that you feel that you've been able to overcome, or that you feel you're still working through?
I think there's still, like, the fact that I want to keep communication to a bare minimum is not the best thing. So I need to keep working on that. And I guess the way to do that is to stop avoiding it. I do feel a lot less stress when I communicate more. Well, now I'm kind of at a point where I have an employee, it's not really working out. So I need to hire somebody who's more advanced and who's full-time. And before coaching, I was just tolerating his like inadequacy. So now I've got to get that person on board, because now I have so much business that I'm going to lose my 3-day-a-week work schedule. So
it's so hard to get.
Yeah. So that's going to be a challenge, getting that person in place, and remembering that part of being an employer is adding value to that employee's life. It's not just for them to work for me so I don't have to work. It's kind of improving somebody else's life. And So I'm going to have to be communicating with that person a lot and providing incentives and working more on people development and less on accounting, probably.
Mhm. Part of what I really have gotten from this conversation is that for you, so much of your success has happened from the inside out. There's some things that you did looking at yourself, being brutally honest with yourself, lowering your tolerance level, putting some boundaries in place. And as a result of doing those things, your business has been able to grow. However, you have gotten back a lot of your personal time as well.
Right.
And now that you are value pricing your work, what is there anything else that you feel is different in your business or your life as a result of that?
I do find that clients with the right personality type are the ones that are signing on with me. And when they're not, I can just kind of mentally wish them away and they will go away.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's great. It's kind of nice to be able to choose on personality. Before coaching, I couldn't identify personality types that I would like to work with, and I didn't feel that that was even a thing, but I think it's a very important thing.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that's an advanced move. The majority of accounting professionals I speak with don't actually consider that, but by you doing that, I think that you probably have clients where there's more synergy.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
they're getting better results because of that.
Yeah, and I think the clients that I have, being that I don't love to communicate all the time, aren't necessarily the needy type they don't want, we don't need to be talking to each other all the time. We just need to get the things done that need to get done. So.
And one of the things we haven't talked about, but if you're okay sharing, can you give an idea as to maybe how you maybe would have priced something before we started working together and how you're pricing it currently to see the before and after idea regarding the prices?
Yeah, the minimum I was charging before was $150 a month. I was never a person that tracked time. I just didn't feel that was valuable. I wouldn't remember to turn the clock on and off. I would have been terrible at it. I wasn't great as an employee with clocking in and out either. But so I did fixed fees already, but the minimum was $150 a month. We started working together at the beginning. I upped it to $250 a month, then to $350. Now it's either pay in full for the year or it's a minimum of $650 a month. And that's a 30% premium on top of an annual fee.
Okay, so you went from your minimums in less than a year ago being 150, and now the minimum is 650, which is probably at least a 4x increase. And then you were talking about the pay in full, which is something that most accounting professionals don't do. Can you just share real quickly how that works for you?
Yeah. If I quote a pay in full first, and then I let them know that if you want to pay monthly, it's an option, but there's a 30% premium on top of that for the basically the financing of it. So I would say I have maybe 50-50 split between pay in full and monthly. It's interesting because people when they hear about that 30%, they think it's a discount to pay in full. So they're like, yeah, I want to save some money.
And so I would think that the cash flow that way, just getting someone paying for an entire year of services, has allowed you to make some of these changes and investments in your business.
Yeah, that's definitely a big one with being able to pay payroll and have coaching and have. I'm looking at some other systems to kind of automate some of my workflow, and so I was just too broke to do that before.
Anything else, Reanna, that you want to add that you feel might be helpful or important to mention?
I think that if you are a person that knows that you need to make a change in your life and you're afraid to make the changes, then definitely do some internal work, because if you can't get to the subconscious and change some of your programming, basically either from childhood or from trauma, whatever it is, you won't have the courage to make the changes because you lack self-worth. And when you don't have self-worth, you just can't go to the next level.
Mm-hmm. And I know that I don't even think that you were aware of some of these things that you're talking about right now, that you were clueless also. And it's been eye-opening in so many different ways. But as a result of it, I've seen your business really grow. I've seen you free up your time. I've seen you put boundaries in place that you didn't have before. And the fact that 50% of your clients pay in full is really a testament to how you've been able to connect with your value in order for your clients to see the value that you bring to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely was totally unaware that I had any of those kind of issues. I just knew I was walking around stressed and miserable all the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope that the stress has gone down a little bit.
Yes.
And how can someone get in touch with you if they'd like to talk to you and find out more?
They can email me at rritter@ritterac.com, or my phone number is 760-213-7960. I generally don't answer the phone though, so it's best to email or make an appointment through the email. I'm not great at returning calls.
At least you're consistent in your messaging. Reanna, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing. I know that what you're doing is giving someone the inspiration to be able to really dig down and do something that they've been thinking about for a long time, but haven't been quite ready to. And I appreciate your transparency today. Thank you so much, Reanna.
Yeah, thank you, Loren.
Take care.
You too.